Hi, everybody, and welcome to Recruited TV Talkback for Episode 8. I'm Carolyn Carpenter, executive producer, writer, and star as Staff Sergeant Schwartz in Recruited. And we're joined by Ray Mercury, executive producer and director. Murdad's editor, and lots of different hats.
Everyone wears a lot of hats.
And then Murdad Sarlak, who plays Staff Sergeant Lambert.
Thank you.
And my husband, Heath Null, who is a United States Marine and has served on recruiting duty. It inspired a little bit of the story behind Recruited TV. And thank you. So let's start off. Heath, tell us a little bit about one thing in particular. I know a lot of people ask this question. A lot of civilians ask this question. Is it true that you're allowed one free elective surgery in the Marine Corps?
Oh. There's no simple answer to that, but yes, you can get an elective surgery if it affects your confidence and leadership and everything like that.
So butt pads and leadership.
Well, there have. I'll be honest. The two I have seen or heard, whatever, breast augmentation for females because it affects my confidence and leadership, and a nose job actually. So somehow they finagled it in there. So, I mean, it's crazy.
Well, the idea is that surgeons have to be doing surgery and practicing even in the time of peace, right? So it's like you want to keep them cutting and suturing. And
well, I don't know where they would get it done at. Again, it's not something that's commonly known or you see. It's one of them, urban legends type things that's out there.
Now, did any poolies ever, or recruits, I should say, or potential recruits ever come in and directly ask about that, or not really?
We've had people ask about that. You try to explain it to them, but I mean, it's one of the more complicated things that you're trying to explain to people. We're like, hey, look, it's not really worth it. We want you to want to be a Marine first. Is our first priority. So.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an interesting point that you make too, because I remember being when I went to boot camp in the Navy. They very similar. Once you kind of go, you all get aligned with your divisions or companies in the Marines, stuff like that. Is that what they call them, companies? Yeah. So in the Navy, it's in division. But it's funny is that once you get into your division, then they kind of put all the divisions together in this one giant auditorium or whatever, and they actually ask people, they're like, who's here for an education? And a bunch of people raise their hands and stuff, and who's here to get their teeth fixed, right? And people are raising their hand. There were a lot of people that got their teeth fixed, because they didn't have dental or they didn't have medical, or who's here to learn a trade, so that they can take it out into the workforce. And then of course there was like, and who's here for war? And it was like me and like 3 other people raised their hands because I learned that the military is in the business of war, right? So I was like, me, and of course all the RDCs, the instructors were like, hey, they're like, you are going to be the ones who are going to survive to the very end. The rest of you are going to get eliminated, right?
So you're like the guy in the beginning that comes in and talks to my character and wants to slay bodies.
Yeah, wants to slay bodies and stand with my brothers in arms, right? Yeah. So, but they were all applying us, and they're like, "Look at those guys! You remember them?" And all these people are like staring at me and stuff, and it was so crazy. But it's true that a lot of people go into the military for other ulterior motives: education, elective surgeries, medical, dental, learn a trade that they maybe wouldn't learn anywhere else. So.
Definitely a benefit of the military is getting those, though.
Yes, that is true. That is true. It's an attraction.
Okay, so Murdad, you filmed a nice fun scene there with Mrs. Chen and Lily Chen and Alvarez and Benson and the Japanese. What was that like? Was that fun?
Oh, that scene was a blast. I don't speak a word of Japanese, and so you had it written in the script, and I was like, okay, Lambert's character, he's got, he's the ace, right? He knows he's at the top of his game, so he's gonna speak Japanese well. So I actually went on Google and YouTube, and I would put in the words, and then I would listen to how they would say them.
Oh,
and so I used Google Translate, and then you can hit play.
Who would have thought? Yeah, I would have never done that. I would have been like,
hey, this is part of your character as an actor. Like, you got to know your. So yeah, that's what I did, and it was a lot of fun. That whole, I was back there in the hallway when they were filming some of the other parts, and I was just laughing. It was really, really funny, and watching it now is hilarious.
I don't speak Japanese either, and I wrote it in there. Right. Well, I had the idea for the scene, and I apologize if the Japanese is actually way off from the subtitles. Where I had the idea for the scene where where somebody has to, you're under so much pressure to close these kids and get them into the Marine Corps.
Always.
And sometimes you have parents that don't speak English, so you've got to find somebody else in the office that speaks whatever language the parent speaks or the child speaks. You're trying to communicate. So I wanted to convey that, but in a humorous way. So this idea for the Chinese versus Japanese, I figured not knowing Spanish would not be believable since they are supposedly in Southern California. They already had an episode in Inland Empire, and they've already got a guy speaking Spanish, so that wasn't going to work. So I found this website out there of a guy that you type in, like he asks people to send in like crazy phrases, and then he'll translate them into Japanese for you, and like it's the phonetic translation, it's not the kanji.
Oh my god.
So I just was pulling all these the diarrhea thing from this page, and I'm like, wow, I hope this is at least close.
I tried to look up
so
some of it.
funny.
Believe it or not, I did take Japanese a couple times, so I was learning the hiragana and the katakana. But then when you get to the kanji, it was like 3,000 hieroglyphs, and then you start learning how to count. But it's just when counting, you keep adding words on. So it's like when you get to 10. I think it's like ichi, ni, sanji, go, roko, suchi, hachi, kyu, ju, and then when you get to 10 ju, you go juni ju, juni u, juni goku. You just keep adding the words, it keeps going. And I was like, okay, I can't do this anymore. It was too hard. But I did try to look up where I was like, is this the right word? I think it is. Okay, this is it.
It's a comedy.
It's a comedy, so.
It might not translate exactly, but
it's
it's
funny.
funny. So. And then the little boy on the set, I think he's related to somebody here. So.
Yes, so for me, it was really great to have my son, Carver, on set, who plays the little Marine who wants to join the Marine. And I really think he's taking to the camera. So I'm really excited about that. I'm really excited for him to really kind of break into the industry. And he had started younger, much younger than I did. So, but he really took to it. And believe it or not, he practiced with AJ Walker's with his mom, Melissa. There she is over there. And he really did a good job, and AJ was just saying how wonderful he was and how he was just really happy to do it, and he was eager to be in front of the camera and stuff. So hopefully in the future we'll see more things from my little guy.
He did a great job.
He
Thank
did.
you.
Yeah,
He did. So before we wrap up here, Heath, tell me a little bit more about the drastic difference in the type of applicants that you get.
As you see in this, you saw 3 different applicants in there. One is like hardcore motivated, ready to go, and the other one's the other one was like shy, not speaking. I mean, you get that, and like, well, I need somebody for the month, and you got to truly try to communicate with this and pull this out. And then of course you get the other ones that are out there just there for elective surgery, for not really wanting to be there. But the other ones want to be there, and it's really hard because you get a whole variety of the full spectrum out there of applicants.
Nice. Yeah, this was the episode that probably had the most colorful of applicants in almost the entire season.
And thank you everyone for joining us for Recruited Talkbacks episode 8, and join us next Thursday for episode 9. Thank you everyone. Bye.